Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Yes, I just came off the air. Hopefully, you were hanging on and hanging out with me on the air at the Light 103.9, right here in my wonderful office for the podcast of Faithfully Speaking. It's what I love to do. We're just talking about topics of conversation, concerns, issues that we may have, and we're going to share these things, share what we can do about them, share maybe what we've gone through in a good, positive, honest, loving conversation and insight. That's what it's all about. Just encouraging each other, going through different things, and just being our brothers and our sisters keepers, because that's what it's all about. I like to call it Faithfully Speaking. So this month being National Mental Health Awareness Month, that's what we're speaking on. We're going to recognize National Mental Health Awareness throughout the rest of the month, every Monday for the rest of this month, talking about the challenges that it brings on, that mental illness may bring on, and how we can better handle it, and how we can be overcomers through and by Jesus Christ, because we can overcome. As a matter of fact, my guests today are here to talk just about that, specifically, shall I say, about that. We have a wonderful survivor. Her name is Stephanie Hall, and through her testimony, through her journey, spawned a nonprofit. And then we're going to turn over and talk to an organization owner. He is actually the director of an organization that kind of helps those who are maybe going through mental illness, and his name is Chris Canty. So we're going to start off right now with Stephanie Hall, who actually reached out to me, and she says, Melissa, with this being Mental Health Awareness Month, I have a testimony I want to share. As a matter of fact, she just wrote all this stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. This is what we need to do. We need to talk about it. So guess who's on with me today? Stephanie, how you doing?
I'm so wonderful. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. Thank
You know
you.
what? I thank you. Thank you for reaching out to me, because, a lot of people feel like, especially when you talk about mental health and mental illness, it's like, that's nothing I want to talk about. I want to hide it. I
Right,
don't want anybody to know
right,
what I've gone through.
right.
But because of that, and I always tell everybody that others get healed through your testimony. I think you know that
Yes,
more than
yes.
anybody. So, Stephanie, through what you've been through, your journey, you've spawned a nonprofit. So let's start at the top. Tell us about, your journey, so to speak, what you shared with me before.
So basically, my story and my testimony that God has given me to share with the world is that it is possible to heal, and is very much possible to heal from mental illness. That's what God has done for me and is still doing in me.
Mm.
The biggest trauma that I experienced, or I would say, with mental health is the spirit of suicide. And we have a lot of people that are suffering from it, have suffered from it. We have lost a lot of lives due to it. But I'm here to send a message to everyone, especially those that particularly deal with suicide, and let you know you have a mission and purpose on this earth. If you feel like you can't reach out to anyone, if you feel like there's no one here that can help you in this world, God is here. God is here to help you. He's always there. He's always listening. And he's just waiting for you to come to him so he can heal you.
Amen. Amen to that. Now, you, as you said, you went on this journey. You got to your deepest, your lowest low, and you said, "Hey, look, I'm going to give it all to God. I've got to turn it over to Him." What would you say were some of the signs that you encountered that let you know, "Hey, look, I have got to reach out. I've got to do something, because I can't do this thing on my own."
Right. So what I've noticed is there are cycles and patterns that come with our mental illness, right? And if you don't pay attention, you won't really catch on to them. But because I was dealing with these things for 10 years, I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and then started having several suicide attempts. I started catching on to the trends. And so I would notice that there are certain points in my life where things felt like they were just crashing down and crumbling, right? And I would get to, like I told you before, that lowest of the low. And the enemy would come right in and hit me with that depression. And when that depression hit, that was the clear cut sign. Hey, you got to tackle this now. Now, because I was so in too deep in it at the moment, I didn't know how to climb out of that hole.
Mm.
I didn't know how to climb out of that dark space. And by this time, like, just to be completely transparent, I had my last suicide attempt 3 years ago. 3 years ago. And so at that point, I felt like I was a failure. I felt like I was a failure as a woman, as a mother, just as a person in general. I felt like my doctors had failed me. And at this point, I said, you know what? I didn't know what else to do. And during that process, I just said, God, I'm sorry. And from that moment, my life forever changed. That night, God gave me a vision and a dream, and He gave me the nonprofit. My life has been just beautiful ever since.
Now, we've heard reports of, so many different suicides, especially young people, surprisingly young people. North Carolina State University by themselves have had, like, many cases. I want to say 8 or 9 cases of just suicides. Because you have just kind of shared with us, things that you felt as being someone that has gone through the mental illness. What do others, maybe some signs that they are looking for, or there are things that they could have seen prior to these, suicides happening, possibly?
So, with some people, you may see some clear cut signs, right? But there are a lot of strong friends out here that are suffering, and you won't really know because they're the ones that are walking around with the smiles still on their faces. They're the ones that's walking around and still helping others. They're the ones that's still walking around and they're hurting and crumbling on the inside, but don't have anyone to speak to about it, or they feel like they can't relate to, right? So you may not be able to pick it up. But this is where I tell people, you can't not only just have physical ears, you got to have those spiritual ears too. Even with our therapists, I finally encountered an awesome group of therapists 2 years ago. They spoke to me mind, body, and spirit. And not everyone is capable of doing that, right? So if you have that perfect therapist and you're sitting here and you're saying things and they're listening from the physical and the spiritual perspective, they could say, even if someone that is that strong friend that says, I'm tired. I'm tired. And even something as simple as that can be so serious. But if you're not paying attention and you're not listening, you won't know. So, I tell people all the time, really pay attention to those strong friends too. Really, because they're the main ones that's going through it.
Such as, when you say that, it's surprising that you would say, not necessarily surprising, but it makes me think of Twitch. Ellen DeGeneres's sidekick, so to speak. We all sat back and looked at him, watched the show. Even his wife. He was a strong person. Bringing
Right.
joy and happiness to everyone else, that you would have never ever thought that he was in such a place that he would take his own life.
Right.
So for you to say that, you're absolutely right. We need to make sure we pay attention to signs from those strong friends, because they're trying to be strong and feeling like if they can't be strong, maybe that's where they're failing, huh?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So you started this nonprofit. Tell us more about that.
Yes, so I started a nonprofit 2 years ago. Like I said, this is a vision that God gave me. He gave me the name and everything. So when I first started, it was February of 2021. I was initially just going to do women. And so God gave me the name iShine. And I put period behind it because, hey, it's a statement, right? So, like I tell people, it's more than a brand, it's a way of thinking. Like I was telling you on the phone, it's the Romans 12:2 behind this, right? So then I was talking to God, and then a month later, God said, but you got to add the men. I said, huh? I was like, God, I don't know how to speak to men. I don't really. But when God tells you to do something, you don't question, you just do it, right? So in my act of obedience, I added iRock to it. So I changed the name to iShine iRock, period. And basically, this is just a whole mission. This is my ministry. This is my baby that God has given me. I want to change the stigma, the trajectory of mental health. I want to change how we address these problems that we have with different solutions, right? So with the nonprofit, things that I want to do is start community outreach events where we could provide hot meals, provide food, clothing, maybe emergency shelter, provide people with getting job assistance, referrals, help with getting, starting a business. And like, for instance, just to start a sole proprietorship in North Carolina is only $26. To start an LLC is $125. Sometimes people just need a little help. I know a lot of resources too, like the Small Business Center at Durham Tech, that we could help with that as well. I'm also introducing having these hard but necessary conversations, because in our Black community, this is not normalized. Unfortunately, being labeled as crazy is normalized, right? But in dealing with these things is normalized, like depression, anxiety is normal. It's not normal, right?
Right.
So I have my first mental health awareness panel this coming Saturday via Zoom. It's 6 women, including me, and we're all survivors. We're currently struggling, and we're talking about our personal testimonies and stories about how we're getting through it, how we got through it. I also want to conduct a suicide prevention awareness roundtable discussion in September. So it's time for us to not only start the conversation, but continue the conversation and actually implement very strategic solutions, because God told me my goal and my mission is to eliminate the mental health crisis, because it's doable. It's doable.
I love it, and I love what you're doing and what you're saying, and because you have that testimony, because you've been there, those that are listening are more compelled that may be going through to say, you know what, she's talking about what I'm going through right now, because you've been there, you've touched it, you've come through it, you are a survivor, you are an overcomer. And sometimes that's what people need. They're like, what does it look like for me to overcome this? And it looks like you, Stephanie, and where you've come from, and you're encouraging more. And I'm sure this is probably part of your healing process, is to help those that are going through where you've been. So, I commend that. I don't want you to go anywhere. We're going to bring on Chris Canty now. Chris is the director of a mental health organization. You have a nonprofit, and I'm sure Chris's organization kind of does some of the same things, as far as Chris says, Melissa, we're kind of the cushion before they actually go to a facility. We're trying to keep them at home. We're trying to say, hey, look, let's go through this whole healing process. Let's find out ways to reach you before you go to this whole facility thing, because, that's probably the last place that anybody really wants to end up. Let's find out solutions of how to get there. And so, Chris, Upward Change Health Services is what you're a part of and what you guys do. Tell us a little bit about your organization and what you do as far as helping those who may be going through some mental illnesses.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. It's a privilege for me to be on this show and just represent the company and talk about mental health awareness, especially in this month. This is very important for all of our listeners. Mental health doesn't affect just white, Black, Asian, Chinese. It affects everyone. So for the most part, Upward Change, we were organized and formed in 2009. Misty Austin is the owner of this company. We started in a small four-wall room, and kept growing and helping the community and helping a lot of people in need. The things that we try to focus on is connecting people with resources, getting to the source before it becomes a major problem. The biggest thing that I try to address first is food, shelter, and water. I feel like if you don't have food, shelter, and water, everything else, it will be hard to engage the client and get to the root source of the problem. So definitely. We offer an array of services, and I can talk more about them as we go along in the interview. But yeah, we are a community-based program, and we provide outpatient therapy in the community and in the school. So that's one of the services we provide.
So who can actually come to your facility? And is there any guidelines? Does a doctor have to recommend, or do they reach out to you to say, is it voluntary, involuntary, as far as your organization is concerned?
Anyone could get services. We have We have a lower level services service called outpatient therapy, and we have a more intense approach called intensive in-home. So anyone pretty much can get some type of service. The good thing about what I like that they did recently is allowed these private insurances to get in bed with behavioral health services. Good thing about that is just because I make, just because you or this next person make a lot of money, this other person is not as fortunate as you financially, we still have these same issues, unfortunately. So, but insurances before now, Medicaid only paid for, people that didn't make that a certain amount of money receive Medicaid benefits, and Medicaid benefits pay for these services. Good thing now is your private insurance, like Aetna or United Health Service, can pay for those services. So
now, of course, anybody going through some process right now is not necessarily thinking about, hey, look, I'm got Medicaid, Medicare. Is that something that you guys will handle if they come in and say, hey, look,
yes,
I just need some help?
Yeah.
Is that something that
so for the most part, we do a referral. That's the
Mhm.
first thing that happens. A referral comes into our office. We check the insurance. We say, hey, yeah, this person has this insurance. Each insurance, of course, qualifies for. They will reimburse the company for certain services. However, during that time, if the insurance don't pay for that services, we will still help them in some form or fashion. But that's the first step, is checking the insurance. Then we will process, we'll schedule out the assessment. Assessment happens, they do a diagnosis and determine what's going on with the client and what service this client can meet. We discuss the services. We also provide a consumer choice. We give them other options. We don't try to make them come with us. We try to give a community source. We try to make sure that they have other options in the community. And then once they say, hey, yeah, we like your service, we want to go with you guys, then we'll process the paperwork and start the services within 7 days.
So you guys kind of, figure out it, like you said, you're there in the community. So you may, bring someone in, counsel them and say, hey, here's some services that may help you with whatever thing that you're going through, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So you're kind of guiding them to the best place to help them where they are and in whatever capacity that they
Yes,
are.
ma'am. And the biggest thing about our services, we want to get them before they go to a Holly Hill or a Cherry Hospital or another facility-based program, PRTFs for behavior kids. We try to get to them before that happens. The biggest thing about us, we send out clinicians, licensed therapists. We have our qualified professionals. We have associate professionals. We have peer support specialists who also go in the community. They provide different interventions. They try to help solve the issues before it get to out-of-home placement situation, a suicide watch, or some type of inpatient treatment.
Great. It sounds fantastic. So basically, it sounds like you two together. I mean, Stephanie has the love, I've been there, let's get this thing together. And, if it gets to a point where they feel like they need to go an extra step, then Chris, your organization is there to take over before they even get to, like you said, a total facility. That's our whole thing is, through and by Christ, all things are possible. And I wanted to bring both of you on because, for one, Stephanie just has that wonderful testimony that's going to heal people where others can't. I always say, when you've gone through certain things, you can minister in a way that nobody else can, and touch them in that specific way. And so, Stephanie, I again thank you for being transparent and coming here and sharing your story, and letting everybody know mental illness is prevalent, y'all. It is something that we all are finding more of. And Stephanie, you really hit something earlier when you said it's not something that the Black community necessarily It's not something that we've been tackling a lot. We don't want to talk about it. Hey, if something's wrong with you, we just say you're crazy and we keep on moving on.
Right.
But we have to address it more and more. And there's special programs that you are doing and implementing. And Chris, and I'm sure your organization has, that can help those who may be going through, or even those, you might have a mama or a grandma, especially saying, you know what, my grandbaby going through something right now.
Absolutely.
And so I need to figure out how to get in touch with these people. So Stephanie, tell us a little bit more about, what you're going to do really briefly. I know you said something about some programs that you have coming up and how they can get in contact with you to be a part of those programs.
Right. So I've been sitting with God with this for a minute because I was struggling a little bit to figure this out. But what I plan on doing is implementing a 30-day support group. It's going to last for 30 days. Right now, I'm opening up to women that deal with depression and anxiety. This will be a space where you can come in. We're going to be open and transparent with each other. You can vent. I'm going to provide a mental health journal that's going to include checklists in it. We're going to do meditation, affirmations. We're going to go about this from a little different perspective, right? I'm tying in the spirituality with this. So, but this will be for a group for women that are currently in therapy or are thinking about doing therapy, right? So we're going to do this every 30 days. It's going to be no cost to the community. So at this point, I am seeking donations so that I have the tools and resources that I need to be able to run this. So if you're interested in joining the support group, you can visit my website. It's ishineperiod.com. It's ishineperiod.com. Visit the NPO tab, which is the nonprofit tab, and the link and information is above.
All right. All right. And Chris, your organization, I know you said that there are other programs that they can be a part of. How do they reach out for those who may be just going through right now to find out more information?
We offer outpatient therapy. We have a more intense approach for adolescents who find themselves almost being placed out of home. That's a more intense. It's called intensive in-home services. And then we have peer support services is for the adult population. And peer support is recovery focused, and it provides help for finding gaining independent living skills and housing resources and employment resources and food resources. Anyone can call the office at 919-682-5300. Once they call the office, they can start the referral process. We also have a website. It's www.upwardchangeservice.com. upwardchangeservice.com. They can ask for, if they call the office, they can ask for myself, or the front desk person can handle it from there. Biggest thing about mental health, it's also a crisis line. I always tell anyone, if it's a crisis, you can, it's a new crisis line that I think they recently added. It's 988, and also it's the hopenc.org. The Hope line you can call is 919-231-4525. So anyone, if it's an emergency and a real crisis, don't hesitate to dial 988. They can assist you. They can get you some immediate help. But if you need us, we here in the community, we do community events. We are connected with a lot of different resources. We have a lot of therapists and a bilingual staff. We have a doctor that provides med management and psychological evaluations, or psychiatric evaluations. I'm sorry. So we can get you set up with some medication as well.
Well, Chris, thank you. I know I met you actually at a church event, Word of God, your pastor there, Pastor Mitch Summerfield. So he was like, hey, look, Melissa, if you do anything on mental illness, this guy right here has a great organization. And, with that background, we know that no matter whatever you do and whichever way you lead them, you're going to pray about it and Christ is going to give you that direction first and foremost. So
absolutely.
before we leave out of here, are there any last words that you would like to say for anybody who might be watching and listening to us right now, Chris, as we conclude?
Some things that anyone could do immediately right now is self-care. That's the first thing I will say. Physical self-care is important. Spiritual, emotional self-care is very important. And it can start with running, exercising, getting a massage, going to the pool, or just sleeping and taking a nap throughout the day. Very important to have a mental health day. Even if you're not feeling good, take a break. It's okay to call out sick. Take a mental health day. The one thing that you don't want to do is take on tasks when you're not mentally ready. These things affect a lot of people. Even things like your house being decluttered, a lot of things in your house, kids running around. I know my wife gets very frustrated with just too much noise when she's trying to just do the simple things like focus, and write stuff down. She don't like a lot of clutter and noise. So it's very important that we all just declutter our house, get rid of stuff, things that you don't use anymore. Simple things like that can make a world of difference in your own personal life, and it can help, help you relax and have a better day. Making sure you get a proper rest, making sure you eat healthy, exercise, walk, and breathing. Simple things like taking deep breaths really help you and cope with things throughout your day. So that's it for me. I definitely thank you for today, Miss Wade. Stephanie, this is great. We want to try to connect with you as well. You got an awesome organization from what I'm hearing, and we want to be a part of that as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We can bring people together to make it even stronger, a stronger bind to help those who may be suffering from mental illness to get healthy. That's what it's all about. Chris, Upward Change Health Services, thank you so very much. Don't go anywhere. But Stephanie, we're going to end up with you. Any final words? I just want to say thank you for your transparency, for coming and sharing. And I think that is truly where your strength lies, and why you started this nonprofit organization is because you're like, hey, look, if I can make it, so can you. And that is the big message. If you can make it, so can everyone else, through and by the grace of God. And if you need extra help, it's there. So any final words that you would like to say to those who are watching us right now?
I just want to speak to those that are suffering with mental health or mental illnesses. I just want to speak to your spirit right now. I just want to let you know that you may feel out of place in this world. You may not feel loved. You may not feel appreciated. You may feel like the scum of the earth, but I'm here to tell you otherwise. I'm here to tell you that I love you. God loves you. You have a mission and purpose on this earth. You have a place in this world. So of all things, I need for you to reach out. You have me, you have Mr. Canty here. There are others in the community as well. Reach out to us. We're here and we're willing to help you. I need you to survive. God needs you to survive.
Amen. And last but not least, both of you, really quick, give us those websites or contacts as far as social media that people can grab and get you really quick. Chris?
All right, we are on Facebook, Upward Change Health Services, LLC. Our website is www.upwardchangeservice.com. And our phone number is 919-682-5300. 682-5300.
Stephanie?
I can be reached on Facebook. My name is Stephanie M. Hall, as you see here. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok as at iShine CEO. My website again is iShine.com. It's ISHINEPERIOD.com.
I need you, you need me, we need each other to survive. And that's what it's all about. Stephanie, Chris, thank you so very much for joining me for this edition of Faithfully Speaking, Mental Health Awareness Month. That's what we're recognizing. Y'all, today we talked to an awesome survivor. We talked to Chris, who has a facility, actually has organizations, and his company kind of helps those to kind of keep you away from those facilities. We can heal. We can heal together. All things are possible through and by Jesus Christ. And so next Monday, we're going to be talking about actually mental health in African American men. And we talked about that, the African American community, period. It's not something that we talk about. Well, we're going to talk about it in our Man with psychotherapist and psychologist Gene Hoskins. And then the final Monday of the month, mental health awareness and the church. That's a place we don't talk about it as well, and we need to. We're going to talk to licensed psychologist Dr. Tanya Farmer Armstrong. So we have even greater shows that are headed your way, as great as this one was. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Again, Stephanie, Chris, thank you for joining me for Faithfully Speaking.
Thank you.
It was an honor. Thank you.
Anna, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it, Melissa.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
I'll take it all. And we love you too. Everyone who is watching, everyone who decided to come in for a little bit, share the information you got today. We can save each other. We can save each other. We can save lives of those who may be going through. Because like I said, through Christ, everything. He is a God of all sorts of possibilities. Everything is possible. God bless you all. Until next time, grace and peace.